Hey there.
Hello.
So, right before I got on this call, I slammed down a brisket sandwich.
Nice.
Dude, Kyle made this brisket. It took forever. He had to basically stay up all night so he could change the wood chips or whatever.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
Dude, it was so fucking good. Like, he handed it to me and I was like, did you steal this from a barbecue place? This is very good.
Awesome.
What was even better, though, was after he stayed up all night making this brisket, he smelled delicious. I had a delicious smelling husband. And so I coddled really hard because I'm like, well, you smell like brisket. Get over here.
That's old school cologne. That's what we had pre-industrial era was.
Just meat smell.
Yeah, you just go out and cook, and then come back with whatever that smelled like.
The best part is the next day I smelled like brisket. The transfer happened. It was good.
Awesome. Brisket's great. I love barbecue.
It's so good. Well, come on over sometime when it's safe and I'll make Kyle make another brisket. It'll only take 16 hours.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a lot of work, so.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. All right, what are we talking about today?
All right, today we're going to talk about the film Snowpiercer.
Neat. Spoiler, I liked this movie.
I figured this might be something you enjoy. It's kind of like, it's a dystopian science fiction film. It's by Bong Joon-Ho. It was in 2013, right?
Yes. Bong Joon-Ho is the guy who also did Parasite, right?
Yeah, that's right. Let's start talking about Snowpiercer, because this one of the reasons I recommend it is because it's just got so much class dynamics,
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a story of a revolution, but condensed into just this one small place.
Yeah, it does a really good job of just zooming in on this microcosm society. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so we start with the opening crawl. They tell us it's 2014.
Damn.
That something has happened. That the climate catastrophe, we had a solution for it ready in 2014.
Wow, we're really prepared, sort of.
Yeah, sort of, because
yeah, it doesn't work out.
Our solution is CW7, an artificial cooling substance applied to the Earth's atmosphere.
Seems smart.
What could go wrong, right?
Yeah, just pump it up there. It'll be fine.
Get up there. I love this shot where they play like the ominous kind of fanfare and they have like the chemtrails going across with the planes. It's like dun 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 dun. So it's like,
it's like, oh, this isn't gonna work.
Yep. Yeah, this didn't work right. The world froze.
I mean, it worked.
It did cool.
It got cooler.
It cooled the atmosphere a lot. All life became extinct. And immediately I'm like, all life? Really? I don't know. Like, test-taking strategy, it's usually not all or everything, Even one exception.
That's true.
And then they are like, oh yeah, there is one exception. There is all but the precious few aboard the rattling ark, is how they put it, which is a cool term.
Yeah. So I have questions about this train.
All right.
Number one, why would they name it the Rattling Ark? I don't want to get on something that's my only lifeline and it have the adjective rattling.
Do they give a name to it later? Like, I know it's Wilford's cool train, but...
Yeah, basically they're like, it's the Wilford train. No, okay, no, the train is called Snowpiercer.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So they just... Rattling Ark is just...
I think it ends up getting called the Rattling Ark because it's the last thing left,
Yeah, that sucks.
They do describe the chaos when they board, though, so people in some way knew or thought that this was a last chance to get out.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about that, too. Like, why a train? Where's their fuel coming from? Like, how did they decide who gets on besides money? Like, they speak different languages on the train, too. So, like, were they trying to get an ethnically diverse population? I got a lot of questions.
Well, the train's supposed to be able to always, it's, eternal.
Why? How?
Well, it's some sort of, in technological breakthrough. The engine can go forever.
Forever train.
I mean, for example, they describe the water creation process, which seems pretty, useful. Mm-hmm. I imagine if you have that, you have some other means of creating energy too.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to, obviously it doesn't work forever. And that's a big concept that they keep trying to drive home is everybody's like, it'll always, it's eternal, it's forever. when you kind of know that, like, no, it's not, but they're very convinced of it.
Yeah, there's no way.
I think they intentionally leave a lot of the early stuff vague.
Yeah.
Just leave it up to your imagination.
Yeah.
But you've got this train going all around the world all the time. You see the train hurtling by, and then we cut to 2031, just a little ways down the road, 11 years.
Shit, guys.
We'll all be in the tail section together. We see the opening scene. The police enter armed to the gills.
Yep. And they like do a head count of everybody.
Yeah, they start counting everyone down. Look to me like, even though they're meant to be like, oh, the big bad police with all the armor and all the guns, they look a little like underarmed and under-armored to fit into a modern day peaceful American protest.
Yeah, that's true. This was released in 2013, so they got amped up.
Yeah.
Like after Ferguson and after Black Lives Matter.
They still need to get some like military upgrades and stuff, but
yeah, they haven't totally taken over their city's budget yet.
So yeah, they're doing the head count, and here's where we're introduced to our main hero and our first supporting hero, Curtis and Edgar.
Curtis played by Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm. And Edgar by Jamie Bell. So the cops, they do the count, and then they are drafting a violinist, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody know how to play the violin, right? Taking whatever few useful poor people, that exist to use them for their own means.
Yeah, it's horrifying. And this guy says like, oh, I can, and also my wife. And they end up picking the guy, and he tries to take his wife with him. It's sad.
And they bust her up.
Yeah, they do. They do break her face.
Just a little police brutality there. They break her face. They crush her hand, I thought, too.
I think so, yeah.
They get everyone else down. They haul off Gerald, the violinist. Mm-hmm. And Curtis and Edgar at this point, they have a little conversation. They discuss kind of how unfair it is, that they're coming in here. Their steak dinners and listening to string quartets and all that, right? And Curtis, I thought this was interesting. He reassures Edgar and he says, we'll be different when we get there.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I have a lot of questions, like, as the movie goes on, like, what their goals are as they start this revolution. It's so single-minded, and I think that really works for the movie. But, like, I think as a leftist watching this, I'm like, well, what's your fucking plan?
Yeah, you're already kind of thinking that, too, because if Curtis is thinking, like, we're going to take over and be better, like, it seems like he thinks that kind of moral decency is going to help things, that like we're going, so that our revolution doesn't end up descending into corruption. We're just going to be good people. And Edgar kind of has a good response, I think. He's like, I want steak.
He's like, yeah, I would also like food, because they eat these nasty protein blocks.
Yeah, the ration, the little bricks of
Jell-O. The little jelly bricks. They look so gross.
They look gross even from the get-go. But yeah, I guess I put here that like Edgar's reply seems to me more materialist. Like, we're not here to make sure that everybody's a good person. We're not utopians or something. We're here to make sure that everybody gets the good shit. Like, everyone
gets taken care of.
Yeah, like the old Marx quote I keep dragging up lately, where the realm of freedom begins where the realm of necessity ends. He's thinking, let's move past these shitty protein blocks and let's get everybody steak. Maybe not all the time, but like, we don't want to be drab and, oh, here we go. We go get our little ration and all in gray suits, but at least we're equal. Like, we want cool shit,
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I have a question about this section of the train, and I feel like the whole time I'm just gonna be like, I have questions and we don't know the answer, but that's okay. So we spend a lot of time, like a lot of the beginning of the movie and in the tail end is what they call it, the last compartment of the train where all the poor people are. And it doesn't seem like they do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that from a leftist perspective was confusing to me, because I'm like, these people aren't providing their labor. They're just like here.
The form of how they're exploited, particularly because of how they're continually drawing people out of the population when they need something. When you go forward and you see, oh, there's a chef there preparing food, or there's these people cleaning, these people doing, like, those were all probably tail sectioners. They keep all of them alive, I guess, which is probably something that would be reduced over time to capital. Pretty much tends to try to just keep the labor force alive enough to, reproduce itself. Yeah. So I think that's the main function that they serve, is just
breeding
people. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense too with like what we learn later about like kids and shit. So okay. Okay.
And if you ever have a fertility drop, you can just adopt some of them and then
just steal their children and whatever. I mean, they definitely do that. So in fact, that's the next scene is that they find a freaky letter inside of one of those nasty protein blocks. They find like a capsule with a note in it.
Yeah, a red letter. They kind of have to chase down Timmy, the little kid, for it and everything. And they get this red letter in the little capsule in the protein block. And it's got a name. It's some sort of security expert named Nangung Minsu.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about it, and they're like, okay, I guess we're going to have to try to get this guy out or something, break this guy out.
Yeah, because he's in the jail section, prison section.
That's right. He's been imprisoned. They have a good conversation here, I think. The old man, who we'll later learn is named Gilliam, played by John Hurt. He tells Curtis that, you should, start taking a leadership role. Edgar thinks the world of you. And Curtis kind of says, he shouldn't worship me the way he does. And there's kind of a personal cause for this later. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was like, to me, it was more like he is kind of a good leader in the sense that he doesn't think that people should be like all about him. It's not me, it's us sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that kind of the idea of a reluctant leader. Like, fine, I'll fucking do it. But it's only because it's what other people want. And it's not like a selfish thing. Yeah.
And there's the bigger, like, we are a class sort of thing. It's not all about me. And if I'm gone, you guys all lose, Yeah,
that was one thing I think that bothered me later on in the movie. Like, not to jump too far ahead, but they end up moving through the train. They start off with this really big group. And by the end, it's just like 2 people. And it's just like, I liked that big group because it really hit on the class solidarity. So,
yeah.
But I understand why they had to do that, like, plot-wise and film-wise. Like, that would be very hard to follow. But I don't know.
Huh, that's interesting. It's like, because there is a point at which they trim out to just like you said, just kind of the vanguard party sort of thing. Mm-hmm. They go out and try to do it, and they'll eventually bring the boon back to the people, I guess. But that would have been kind of cool to see the human wave go just through,
all go together,
tear up everybody along the way. That would have been kind of neat.
I mean, because honestly, those are my favorite parts of the movie.
Mm-hmm. The old man I put on here, he has a good like old man revolutionary look. He looks like a kind of Lenin Trotsky hybrid.
I thought he looked like Trotsky a lot. His little glasses did.
Yeah. And so they start planning. They're like, okay, we've got to go take the whole train over. We're going to get to the very front, everything in one stroke. And Curtis has this good line. He says, we control the engine, we control the world. Without that, we have nothing. All past revolutions have failed because they couldn't take the engine.
Fuck yeah.
And he's understanding it's not like, let's get somewhere and get some leverage and then kind of like make things a little bit better. He aims to, he says we're going to kill the people up in the front and take power, like for ourselves.
Yeah, so it's that whole, we're not here to negotiate. Mm-hmm. We're going to fucking take over.
Yeah. And like, I think it's a good commentary that like kind of electoralism in general, it's not enough, and neither is just like a popular social movement or these two together really without actually seizing the engine, seizing the means of production, right?
Fuck yeah.
Like that's what you have to do to be able to control your own destiny.
Yeah, that may make sense.
The old man's kind of like, I don't know. Gilliam's kind of like, it's a lot, but we can try.
Yeah.
And then, the cops show up then.
Yeah, come back and they start measuring the children. And it's really creepy.
This unhinged looking lady in yellow shows up.
Oh, gosh. She has such a bitch face.
And she's literally measuring them with a tape measure.
Yeah, it's so gross.
For a medical test?
Yeah. I did not believe that for a second. So, like, I had lots of theories. I mean, eventually find out why they take them. But, like, my first theory was, like, okay, are they going to, like, maybe people can't have kids up front or something for some reason. Or at one point they say something like, oh, Mr. Wilford loves kids. And I was like, okay, is he a pedophile?
Yeah, I wondered that too when she said that. I was like,
Yeah. So anyway, they end up taking fucking Timmy, who's really cute. He's Octavia Spencer's son, and he's adorable. Not in real life, but in the movie.
They take Timmy and Andy, the little redhead kid.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of all hell breaks loose here. They have to fight to try to get Timmy because he's like hiding at first, and people get beat up and stuff. It looks like kind of only 4 people are really resisting. You know, the people like, you know, Edgar and Curtis and the parents. And
the parents.
so because there's like not that many cops.
Yeah, there's really not.
But because so many of them are kind of like just kind of moving aside and stuff, they're able to take off the kids, you know?
Yeah.
A shoe is thrown.
Is this a reference to that guy that threw a shoe at George Bush?
I guess it could be. It's, you know, it's after that time in history. So yeah, it could have been. Andrew, we find out he's named. This is Andy's dad. Throws a shoe at this crazy yellow jacketed woman.
Yeah.
She bleeds and then licks the blood.
Yeah, that was a weird move. She's psychotic.
She's bizarre. And then we get to the punishment.
This sucked. This sucked so much. So Tilda Swinton comes in. The worst I've ever seen Tilda Swinton look. Oh my God, they gave her some nasty fake teeth and
it's awesome.
She looks horrible.
Yeah. We learn her name is Minister Mason.
Yeah. I love her accent though.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so easy to hate.
She comes in kind of like full on assistant principal mode and is like, she even starts, this is so disappointing.
Oh yeah,
holding the shoe and everything.
I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
And so while they're lining the guy up for punishment by sticking his arm out of a port in the side of the train.
Yeah.
Till it freezes.
And then they break it off.
With a hammer.
It's disgusting. Oh my God.
And meanwhile, while they wait the 7 minutes or something for his arm to freeze, Mason stands up there and gives a speech.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just like everyone belongs in their place and like just all anti-chaos basically and pro-order. And it's just very gross. Very easy to hate.
It's disgusting, right? Because it's...
It's horrible.
It's fascism.
It absolutely is.
It's class. There are classes, but they should work together. There are separate groups, but they should all be in harmony as one body. You know, different functions, a hat and a shoe. Sure, one's on top, one's on bottom, but we all serve a function to survive in a battle against a hostile world. Otherwise, the outside threat will kill us all. Mm-hmm. It's fascism.
That is what that is. I think in this speech she mentions the ticket sections for the first time. So we kind of get some more info on like the different parts of the train. Mm-hmm. So apparently some people had first class tickets and then there was like economy or something. And then she refers to the tail end as like freeloaders. So they just got on.
Yeah.
And it's very much like, oh, we let you on this train. You should be grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's when we were saying earlier, like maybe in the chaos of the early days, they just threw people on, you know, this was like the last chance to escape and they forced their way on or something.
Yeah. No idea.
But yeah, I love this whole discourse she has on basically, you know, what equates to the old medieval concept of the great chain of being.
It reminded me of that a lot, very much.
Yeah.
Like a divine right.
Yeah, everything flows from God, or in this case, the sacred engine. Literally says all things flow from the sacred engine. You know,
Jesus.
Eternal order is prescribed by this things in their place, all passengers in their section, everything in its preordained position.
Ugh.
And
this lady sucks.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And you're thinking like, easy for you to say, lady. You know, you're up there with your fancy coat. You know.
Yeah, for
should
real.
be in its position because you know you should be in your.
Yeah, you're not eating your protein blocks.
We don't have to wait for a dystopia to see this sort of thing happen. This is so many people who buy into meritocracy and everything, and saying like, you know, oh, everyone deserves to be in the position they're in or whatever, or really just using that as a justification for why they're in the station they're in.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
It is a lot of like defensiveness in that.
Yeah, I earned it. I'm here because I'm good. And contrastingly, other people are where they are because they're not. They don't have those skills, or they don't have the fortitude to like, you know, buckle down and do the hard work or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the respect of labor and just like how things like sanitation aren't respected. And it's like, dude, if that was gone tomorrow, like you'd be so fucked, you know? And I mean, I think there's like a couple of different prongs to that. It's like, one, all labor should be respected. No, and two, like people should be respected no matter like what their contributions of labor are, you know, like it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it's like that tweet you've mentioned before where it was like about the phrase earning a living.
Yeah. It's like you shouldn't have to do that. And it's such an accepted part of our society is that you have to make excuses. You have to make up for the fact that you were born.
And yeah, I think one of the coolest things about Marxism is that, and just kind of the way Marx has formulated it in his writings, is that he's trying to turn labor from something that people are enslaved to something that people are free to do.
Yeah.
And like, once we get to that point where we no longer want for things and people are free to work in whatever ways they want to work, but everything's kind of like a hobby, you know, everything's just kind of like something cool to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think people get hung up on that because they're like, well, that's impossible. And you're like, okay, first off, just go sit down. Secondly, like, there's a place in between that, you know, like there's ways to transition to that. Mm-hmm. Like, just like fucking paying people more and not shitting on them for doing quote unquote menial labor. Like, there's steps in between. Yeah.
You know? And we're not saying, let's wake up and do this, you know. We realize that everything's kind of determined by its, you know, historical circumstances and stuff. Yeah, there's got to be, like you said, transition to get there. Yeah. But anyway, the guy gets his arm smashed. Gilliam shows up and, walks forward and kind of surveys the gruesomeness of it all.
This is when we see Gilliam is also like missing limbs.
Yeah, he hobbles up there. Yeah. Mason greets him kind of cordially, like friendly, sort of.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's your deal? And maybe she's just according him respect because he is, you know, kind of a quasi-leader back there.
I read it as either this guy used to be important or that it was kind of a mocking respect, like, oh, Mr. High and Mighty of the tail section. Yeah. So, because I don't know, I remember at one point he's talking with Chris Evans. I should call him by his character name, but whatever. He's Chris Evans. Curtis. At one point they're talking and he's like, my time is over. And it sounded like he used to be some sort of revolutionary, you know? Yeah. So I was wondering if maybe he was like important in the before times.
If Curtis was like, he had experienced life before the train, then obviously this guy had. So yeah, he was there through all of the revolts and everything. Yeah. But yeah, Gilliam asks to speak to Mr. Wilford while they're literally sweeping this guy's arms, like the remains of it, into a dustpan. He goes up and asks Mason, like, hey, tell Mr. Wilford I need to speak with him. Kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, when I first watched this, I did not know enough, obviously, to make a good guess as to why that would happen. I think what I thought was like, is this like a desperate ploy? Like maybe we could try talking to him or something. Like that's not going to work, you know?
Initially, I kind of read it as like, maybe he's going to try to negotiate or trying to say like, hey, people here are pissed. We think it's going too far. You know, things might get crazy if you don't alleviate things.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too. That would be a negotiation.
Mm-hmm. Which, if he's been around long enough, he's probably seen those other revolts, and he, you know, if there's any sort of, they know about him and he's been there a long time, he's a known quantity, there might be this sort of like, hey, I can be not your guy on the inside, but like I can be kind of like helping to make sure things,
to calm things down.
Yeah, like as long as you're,
like people listen to him.
Yeah, he's a local kind of leader there, I guess. But anyway, we'll find out what that may have been. Yeah. Then we've got the plot in motion, right? The barrel's on the move. Mm-hmm. Curtis is buying Chronol, some sort of a drug. And when they're putting this plan together, they have a suspicion that the cops don't have any bullets in their guns.
I thought that was really interesting. Like, they're just like, well, there's only one way to find out, and it's a one-way ticket. Yeah.
They start having that suspicion, Curtis does. They're preparing some sort of a plan. Tanya asked to go along too. She's, been radicalized now.
Yeah, for sure. She's like, they fucking kidnapped him. Yeah.
Yeah, she was an ally before. She was helping them before, but she really wasn't putting her life on the line yet. Now she's like, I'm doing this too. Yeah. And everybody comes to the movement in different ways.
Yeah, I loved I think this is when we see the artist guy the first time. Yeah. He was really cool. So there's this guy, and he has like a weird hat or something.
Like a coal miner hat.
Oh, okay.
That's what it looks like to me anyway. It's got a light on the front.
Yeah. But yeah, he draws like people in the train and also like basically the news.
Yeah.
Like he's the news.
The big events that are happening. He's illustrating them for the people.
Yeah, and he ends up drawing like a picture of Timmy for Tanya and Andy for Andrew, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll kind of use that as they go forward to try to find them. And then their plans get interrupted. The cops show up prematurely. People decide, what are we going to do? Are we just going to try to hide this stuff that we've been putting into motion or what? And it's like, no, the moment is now.
Just going to do it.
Yeah. It reminds me of, the crazy time between the February Revolution and the October Revolution. You had the July days and stuff like this happening in the Russian Revolution, and the Bolsheviks are like, a lot of times saying like, what the fuck do we do? This stuff is just moving, is happening. We have to jump on board because it's already going down, Yeah,
it's like there's never going to be a good time for this shit. Mm-hmm. Like it just has to happen.
Yeah. Strike while the iron's hot or don't strike at all.
Yeah. And
so so the plan is they start yelling. They're like, fuck this protein block bullshit. This stuff sucks. The cops take a hostage. And then here we go. The moment of truth. Will we do it or will we not? Gilliam's scared. The rifles may be loaded. Edgar's eager. He says, even if the rifles are loaded, we outnumber them.
That's true.
And Curtis has to act.
He runs up, puts the gun on his forehead.
Yeah, he reaches over. He pulls the trigger. Basically risks a revolutionary suicide.
Oh.
And the cops have no bullets. He survives.
Yeah. And everyone's like, oh shit. And just starts fucking beating up these cops. It's great.
Hell yeah. They start charging forward with this battering ram made of barrels.
It's very good.
They like throw the protein blocks off the cart and put that on the front and just like roll this thing through the doors.
It's good.
And at some point, I think people pop out of it. Like it's also like a transportation tube sort of thing.
I think so. Yeah. I was kind of confused on this part. Like, where do they get these barrels? And I understood like the plan was because like they have these sliding doors and they have to like get through it quickly
before they shut it on them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was the barrels. I think we're holding the gates open.
Oh,
because they can't close on them. I imagine it was just some old cargo or something that gradually had been used and then was like, they were sleeping in that stuff and whatever in the tail section.
Yeah. I saw them like a mom like donated a barrel, like was a makeshift crib, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they charge forward. The people prevail. There's a brute at the end. But they send this cool ass fighter dude, Gray, to come in and just leaps over him, stabs him in the heart. And they've won the initial fight.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. They free the hacker guy, Namgung Min-soo, played by Kang Ho-sung.
And this is the most terrifying prison ever. It was just drawers of people. Like, I thought this was a morgue at first.
It's basically a morgue, but it's prison.
Yeah. It's insane. And, like, the walls are filled with these drawers. Like, oh my gosh. Did they ever specify why this guy was in prison?
He had Chrono Addict written on his nameplate there, so I don't know if that was his sentence or what, like, because he was a Chrono Addict. But we see later there's tons of Chrono users.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Maybe he...
And then why would his daughter be in there, too? I guess because she was also an addict.
Yeah, I don't know. We learn here in this scene what Chrono is. It's industrial waste.
Nasty.
Highly flammable.
And causes hallucinations.
So, good stuff.
Fun. Delicious.
A fun time. Chrono, always a fun time.
It does have a very pleasing sound, like when it clacks together.
Yeah, it's like some dice.
I enjoyed that.
So, I'm going to call him Nam because they call him that throughout the thing. So
yeah,
Nam refuses the deal of they basically say, they open the drawer, take him out. They're like, you're going to help us open the doors. We'll pay you a chrono block each door you open, but we're getting to the front and you're helping us. And he's like, no way. They fight. And then he opens up the other drawer with his daughter in it. Mm-hmm. Yona, played by Go Ah-sung. And so they talk some more. He's kind of rude the whole time.
I like him.
Yeah, he's cool.
But they use these cool, like, translators. They look like little tiny Walkmans, I guess.
Yeah.
And, like, you just hold it up and talk, and it translates.
And it translates swear words, too, which I appreciated.
Yeah, that's important.
Anyway, they both end up going. They'll get 2 blocks now instead of 1. The deal is struck. The plan is on. They march forward.
Yeah. I made a note here. They should have taken the prisoners, too. I bet they fucking hate being in those drawers.
Yeah, there's a reason that revolutions frequently bust open the prisons when they take power. That's, a lot of anti-state pent-up energy there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, missed opportunity maybe.
Yeah, I think they didn't want to be too controversial.
Possible.
This was only 2013.
Prison abolition, we were not there yet.
We weren't.
So they open the next door, and they're amazed. This is just the guards' quarters. It's not that fancy of a car, but they're still amazed by it.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, they have beds. And it's like, Jesus, guys.
Yeah, look at all these beds and the windows, too. They kind of real.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think most of them had seen out windows before.
Yeah, they like hadn't seen the sun in forever or ever.
Yeah.
For some of them.
They move on. They find the kitchen where they meet a guy named Paul who they used to know but is weird now or something. Yeah,
they couldn't like really get much out of him because it's probably just isolation.
Yeah.
He seemed to just only be focused on his work.
Which that sucks, dude. They made it seem like he just works there and doesn't interact with anybody.
I think that might be it, man.
Damn.
Yeah. Super sucks. And then we also learn what the protein bars are.
Hell yeah. So the protein blocks are made out of good, nutritious bugs.
Yum.
Curtis and the artist, they look very grossed out. I don't know. I think that we should be a little more open-minded towards using bugs as a protein source.
Well, a lot of people eat bugs. That's the thing. I've had bugs. Have you had bugs?
I have not. No.
I had these like spiced, like crunchy grasshoppers when I went to like this fancy Mexican bar one time.
Mm-hmm.
It was very good.
Whoa.
It's just like salty and crunchy.
Dude, that's awesome. I want to try some.
Yeah.
And I don't know, aren't they like in some ways more sustainable or something than a lot of other protein sources?
Yeah. Dude, like half the products on Shark Tank are bug snacks. Like various like bug protein, bug flour. Like I'm telling you, one season is like, you guys really invested in the bug game.
Yeah. But they're still grossed out and he's like, you can't draw this. People can't know.
Oh, I thought that was really interesting.
He had to, a little censorship to protect the revolution.
I've all been there. My first note here was, I wrote it's bugs in all caps. Where did you get the bugs? Because they said all life, so that means they like brought bugs on board and are just breeding them?
Yeah, I think they definitely have the facilities for it. We see later that they have some wild train cars here, so they probably have a bug.
Yeah, bug farm.
And it could probably be below one of these things. I mean, if they have a whole ecosystem going, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we find out here that Paul has been passing along these red letters in the protein blocks. They give them to him.
Yeah.
He passes them on. He doesn't read them or know where they come from. He just puts them in the blocks.
Yeah.
So we find the next one here, which is water.
Oh, and this is when they come up with a water plan. Like, oh, if we control the water cart, then we can actually control the car.
Yeah.
Or the train.
Yes. Yeah. We will have the water supply in our control, and then we'll be able to use it as leverage, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Curtis, he might be saying that, he might be thinking like, okay, that could work. But he doesn't seem like he's convinced to like not take over the train.
Yeah, no, I think he's still, that's his single-minded goal. And given what we learn later, I think it's interesting that old man's like, no, we can just do the water. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So they open the next gate. Yona warns them before they do and says, don't open the gate.
Yeah, she is prophetic, I guess. It seems to be because of the chronal. Like she maybe the hallucinations are now like prophecy.
Yeah, they're kind of clairvoyant sort of is what they talk about at some point. And here we find a very bizarre scene with a bunch of weirdos in like leather and these black masks.
Yeah, the masks were very weird.
Yeah, some of them had the masks like over their eyes.
Just
too.
Their mouth.
And
I just saw the mouth ones mostly, which was creepy.
Yeah, there were a few
like
of them.
They don't even have eye holes.
A few of them had eye holes, so it wasn't like a blind army necessarily, but I don't know. Maybe it was like thinner in the eyes so you could still see, but it was weird. But they had
I assumed it was like a ski mask.
They had axes and all this stuff, and it was like, whoa, all right. and then they brought forward the fish.
Okay, I have a story about the fish. When I first Googled Snowpiercer to like just Google it the very first time, the first result was Snowpiercer, what's up with the fish?
Yeah.
Why the fish?
What did you think there about the fish?
I was so confused. So they take out the fish. It's a big ass fish. My first thought was, cool, there's fish on this train. We should be eating fish. Second thought was they stab the fish and just gut it in front of them. And then I guess it was supposed to be like threatening. Like, these are sharp. Like, I did not understand.
They passed it around, right? And like different people cut into it a little bit and got blood on there.
What is...
Later on, we'll find them talking about how they are trying to keep ecosystems in balance, right? And they talk about when they sit down and eat sushi, they talk about how like, oh, they're balancing the aquariums and stuff.
Yeah.
Their fish supply. And after this fight, Mason will get up there and say 74% of you will die. The fish thing is symbolic of they're about to cull their population like they cull the fish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that this is where it happens. This is what's, this is your fate. You are the fish here.
You're disposable. You're like stock.
Mm-hmm.
Like cattle or fish.
It's also kind of demoralizing because, like you said, whoa, there's fish on board.
Whoa, I could have eaten that fish. Give me that fish.
But okay, so they have a big fight. And ordinarily, I'm not a big fan of fight scenes. I'm just like, okay, who won, right?
Yeah, same. It's nap time.
And one thing I did like about this fight scene was they do this cool slow motion effect that emphasizes the sounds just of Curtis's hacks, like hacking at people and everything. He's going, all that. But that's everything else is kind of muffled, and we're just focusing on him in slow motion and like quite brutally, grotesquely, viscerally chopping into people.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like highlighting the brutality required in an armed revolution like that.
Yeah, and of a leader of that revolution to be doing that with the rest of his people. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. He had to, put away any sort of idealistic notions he had about this and get down to chopping.
Just hack some people up.
Getting blood all over him, breaking bones, hacking, and just, it was what was required, what the people needed of him, I guess.
Doesn't he slip on that fish later?
Yeah, he slips on the fish.
That was the point. It was a banana peel. They're like, I watched Mario Kart.
I didn't really know what to think about the slipping on the fish part. I don't know if that was just a little comic relief.
You know what we need right now? A little boing.
A little slapstick, yeah.
Yeah, just with the sound effects and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's a symbolic way to derive from it.
Not everything's your English class, man.
One thing I loved was when they come forward with like reinforcements and shit, but the guy announces like, we're approaching Ekaterina Bridge.
Yes, that was super cool. So there's this bridge, and it means it's like the new year, right?
Yeah. They do a countdown. They're raising their axes like 10, 9, 8. And they have just like been hacking each other to pieces. And they stop for New Year's. The guards do that. The tail sectioners are just kind of like standing around, I guess, licking their wounds, sort of. And after, I think Edgar says something, getting fucking old, But everyone's just kind of like taking a break to celebrate the new year. It's so weird. Yeah, it seems like, maybe there's going to be a truce. Maybe they're going to fix things or something is going to happen. Mason again shows up to give a speech. Now she's got like a kind of military looking uniform. It's got some medals on it or something. Still looks like a wacko. I don't know. Just terrible. It comes up basically and she's like, can't you appreciate the scraps we've given you? Just why can't you be happy? And 74% of you will die. Yeah. She had that number ready to go. Yeah. Like she just read it off of paper almost. Curtis here threw an axe at her. Oh, and some asshole blocks it. Yeah. One of those big suited guys. I called them the suited goons. Yeah.
Suited goons.
Yeah, they block it. She said, I love this line that she says. She says, my friend, you suffer from the misplaced optimism of the doomed.
Ooh.
That's a badass thing to say to people.
It is. It's very mean, and it's kind of accurate in some ways.
Yeah, this is where the tunnel comes into play.
So first they run through some ice blocks. The Snowpiercer does its piercing of snow. Mm-hmm. So they, like, the track has ice on it, and they just, like, bust through it.
Yeah, these, like, I don't know if they were ice flows or, like, something, but it had gotten onto the track. And so they had to, they just rammed through it and nearly fell off the tracks, but didn't.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a much bigger problem than it ended up being. And then, they go into a fucking tunnel. Oh, this part sucks. The fucking soldiers pull out their night vision goggles, and get to hacking.
They do. It looks gruesome. Luckily, Chan brings, they have a torch relay thing.
Dude, this was my favorite scene.
Oh, yeah?
I was screaming at my TV. Because Nam had like the last cigarettes in the world, basically, and he has his little matchbook with him, and like a little kid had taken it or something, and so all the way back in the tail end, they light a torch, and this little kid goes running with a torch, and then he passes it off to the one-armed guy, and it was just like so inspirational.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got very hyped watching this. I was like, you go, guys, go.
It was super cool. Yeah, they do that relay race. Gray ends up with it, and then by the time they get to to where they are, to the fight, they have torches now. And so the people are able to fight on, and the tide turns kind of.
Yeah, I really like that. Like, obviously symbolism and like light and stuff, but also like the civilians are helping too. Yeah. Like even like the kids are helping, and the idea of like the light is spreading to different torches, like that's some good symbolism shit right there.
They have, it's the power basis of the revolution is coming from the people, the masses, And like you mentioned earlier, they may have done done better had they kept those masses going with them.
Honestly, yeah. I was a little judgy.
So anyway, they start winning the battle. Gray takes... I liked the scene where Gray ends up taking a hostage, that like train conductor looking guy, like bellboy guy.
Oh, yeah. The guy with the little glasses and stuff.
Yeah, tells him surrender or die. And Mason looks at him like, what do you want me to do? No.
And then the guy goes, oh shit.
Yeah, in that moment, like right before his death, he realizes what he and all other cops are: class traitors, useful but expendable and never fully accepted in the eyes of their capitalist masters.
Absolutely. I didn't feel bad, but it was like a deserved, like, fuck off, man. Like, you should have seen this coming.
This is what you always were to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets killed.
He certainly does. And this is when he loses Edgar, right?
Yeah. Gray throws a knife into Mason's like thigh or something. Mason gets wounded trying to escape. And then one of the suited goons takes Edgar as a hostage.
That feeling when you have to choose the revolution over your bestie.
Yep.
Sad face.
He looks back. He looks at Mason, looks back. He's like, fuck, what do I do? Curtis is like trapped here. But I mean, I guess he doesn't let his, personal feelings get in the way of the people.
Curtis is like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, he's obviously upset about it, but
yeah, and it looks like Edgar is.
He tells him do it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he knows what must be done too.
Yeah.
So
I think in that situation, Edgar had been so explicit about like, no, I'll fucking die. So like, that kind of gives him some wiggle room, I feel like. Like, if I had a friend, they said, like, hey, everyone turn to your best friend this week. Say, hey, if we're in a revolutionary situation, here's what I want you to do. Here's my DNR for revolution.
Do not rescue.
And do not rescue.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm a wuss. Please rescue me.
I'm fine, but only if it's, like, at the real moment, If
it's convenient.
If it's just like, this may help us win, no, come on, rescue me. But if it's like, no, this is it, we take power here or not, go ahead. It's fine.
Fine.
Make a statue of me or something. Do something cool.
Yeah, take care of my cats.
Name a couple cities after me, but that's it. So yeah, Edgar gets killed. Curtis goes, takes Mason hostage. And so she very quickly changes her tune and tells them to surrender, drop her weapons and everything.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was going to work at first, just because that guy like had just gotten killed. But I guess she's high up enough that it works.
Yeah. So they go on to the next part. The people have taken the water car. Gilliam comes in and surveys all the carnage, kind of the price that they've paid for where they've gotten to. And his reaction kind of depends on our interpretation of something later. But he tells the people, go on, wash yourselves in the water car. And then they get down to questioning Mason.
Yeah. I have a question. At one point, she takes out her dentures. What's the point of that?
I don't know.
Okay, just
I watched that a number of times just to see if I had missed something, and I have no idea.
Okay. All right.
She did
Another
it, though.
question for the director. Should we ever meet? We're going to be like, fish, dentures. Explain yourself.
He just rolls his eyes.
He's like, not this again. Every fucking Uber driver I have asks me the same 2 questions.
So Mason gets raked over the coals. You know, they are swinging an axe at her, threatening to chop off her arm. All this.
Yeah.
Deserves it. I mean, if anyone
She
does.
sucks.
She denies knowing where the kids are. She says that
This is where she says that he likes kids, right?
Yeah, Wilfred likes kids.
Ugh.
And they're like, Wilfred likes
That
kids.
does not make it any better.
Yeah, well, they were kind of like, no, all he cares about is his engine. They didn't really raise any eyebrows about that or anything.
Yeah.
She says Wilfred's not going to come. He's not going to leave the engine. Even if they chop her up into bits or whatever, he's not going to do that. They tell her about the plan about the water. Like, who cares? We'll shut off the water. It doesn't matter. And then, I don't know, she either foolishly or intentionally shoots down their plan.
I wasn't sure why, what's his name, wouldn't, I mean, he does know that, right? Like the old guy, he knew that this wouldn't work.
It depends. If he's truly just an old guy back there, then he might not know. If what Wilfred says is right, then yeah, he probably already knew.
Yeah. But basically she says that the water comes from the front. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like as we
pierce the snow.
As the train busts, as they pierce that snow, they get the water from it.
Yeah. And so then that goes, she's like, you'd be condemning your own people. You depend on that too, sort of thing. And this is a classic capitalist argument of the system, benefits you too. You can't just destroy the system because you would suffer too.
I mean, I'm willing to do a little bit of suffering.
Yeah. Ultimately, that may be a good choice. But she tells them, no, the water car plans, basically, it's not going to work. She also revealed that they have knowledge of Curtis and the revolutionaries.
Yeah. She's like, she calls him by his full name or whatever. And she's like, oh, yes, we know you.
Yeah.
That was a terrible accent. I'm sorry for any Scots, probably.
It's kind of like North Country. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, any Northerners.
It's actually the Yorkshire accent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tilda Swinton said that she based it on someone from her early life who had that accent, and to her was an early example of authority.
Ooh, okay. Shout out to Tilda Swinton's principal.
Yeah,
Or
it's got this.
her headmistress.
Yeah, it's got that headmistress, assistant principal, discipline dean sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was wondering, okay, why have they not already stopped these revolutionaries, or just pulled them out and killed them?
That's a good question.
If they knew about
If they
them
knew this was brewing.
then why not?
Yeah.
Right? And then I thought Mason said something interesting here. When I'll take you to the front, but you have to kill him. You have to kill Wilfred.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I was wondering, do you think that she's being genuine and like is worried, like, oh, he will be like pissed that I led you up here, so kill him?
Okay.
Or is she like trying to make them think that so that they think that she's really turned against the regime and is not just like purposefully leading them up there or something?
Yeah, I couldn't get a good read on that. Like, I think what was also confusing to me. So Gilliam says, don't let Wilfred talk. like cut out his tongue or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me.
Yes. Yeah. That's the nighttime conversation. Right after this, they're like laying down there and talking about it. And yeah, he says, don't let him talk, cut out his tongue.
That in conjunction with Mason's comment made me think, like, are they assuming that they're going to get up there and kill Wilford and basically just take his place? And now, like, there's a new Wilford, but, are they just assuming, like, they're going to take over and, like, it might be a little bit the same thing, just different face?
The straight reading of it for now, because we don't, watching it right now, we don't know anything.
Chronologically.
Yeah, chronologically, you think, okay, Mason's scared for her life, she even says, because I want to live, right? I'll work with the revolutionaries, I'll help you. In return, kill Wilford, take his, presumably take his place. I'll do whatever you want at that point, And Gilliam's saying, cut out his tongue. Don't let him convince you to like lose resolve at the last minute, right? Don't let him convince you, honeyed words, whatever. Like you need to take power and make things good for people. Not necessarily, keep the system, but like make it good and work.
I thought what was interesting about that is that Gilliam knowing Curtis, like I would never feel like I would have to tell that to Curtis. Like, I just don't think I would. I think he would just fucking kill him.
But he doesn't when he goes.
I mean, it's true.
He's not like cold-blooded. He might. I don't know. I would hope that he would.
It was a unique thing to have to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
like why would you say that unless there was a reason you didn't want me to hear him?
So the party then ventures forward, and this is where we get the Vanguard party.
Yeah, so, I mean, one thing I did like was artist guy draws their party like cute. A little portrait.
Yeah, it's
really cute.
It's like when people post like cool pictures of their D&D party.
Yeah. And like they kept adding people. I was like, oh, sorry. It was really good.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I like artist guy. That would be me.
You'd be the painter.
Yeah.
So they move forward. Gilliam's staying. The party will be Curtis, Mason, Nam, Yona, Tanya, Andrew, and Gray.
Yes.
So they go forward. The first door enters, and they're in Eden, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The food. This is where they grow the food. It's gorgeous.
It's like a citrus orchard. There's a fountain. There's a lady who's knitting there, and just like looks up, like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
That's probably one of my favorite parts about this movie is the reactions of like the bourgeois when they see people. They're just like, oh.
Yeah. They're just like, well, this is weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And I also love thinking about like the everyday lives of the bourgeoisie too, because they would like, there's only one way to go through. And I immediately was like, okay, where do these people fuck? Like, you have to be like, oh, pardon me. Like, you cover your eyes as you walk through the hall. Like,
yeah,
I just have a lot of questions.
Well, there must have been, in those train cars where they see like the tailor and all the businesses and stuff. There's probably like a residential.
Oh, they have little compartments.
Yeah, and you can just close the blinds or something and
okay,
or you can just go to the club and do it there.
Apparently, because I don't remember seeing like residential places.
Yeah, I think
maybe they just didn't show.
I think they breezed past that. It's a really long train, so we don't see every car.
It's a real long train.
They go through, people start eating like fruits from it. I think someone's eating a tomato.
Yeah.
Yona tries to eat some dirt.
Well, her dad tells her to.
Yeah. They're
it's a classic dad prank. Hey, try to eat this. I know you've never seen dirt, but try to eat it.
And then they go through the fucking aquarium car.
That one's real fucking cool. Oh my gosh. And these people have never seen, like, people are born in this train. Like, Edgar, he's dead now, but he had literally been born in the train.
Yona too.
So, like, Yona too, yeah. She's only like 17 or something. So, yeah, they had never seen any life besides humans. And now they get to see fucking stingrays and shit.
It's wild. And,
yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking, like, I wonder if that's enough space for those fish. Like, this, the train's not that big, and it seems like you can walk fairly comfortably in it. So it's like not that much dimensional room for. I was just thinking, like, aquarium size, man. They have a stingray. That requires a lot of space.
Yeah, and like plant life too. Like that's important for fish, right? It reminded me, as a Dallas resident of the Dallas World Aquarium, they have a shark tunnel. It's pretty fucking cool.
Man. In the healthy future to come, I've got to see that.
It's pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. My nephew lost his shit at it.
All right, so they get past that. They go to the sushi bar. Mason's like, y'all want some sushi, basically, and
insane that they have sushi. Just like, yeah, I know we're on the end of the world or whatever, but here's our sushi.
They have it twice a year, though. Only twice a year.
Ooh.
Right? Precise ecological balance. They talk about it and say, we've got it. We know we do this to keep the population numbers in control. I mean, I don't know. I wrote on here, like, we'll see the human application later, but we can already kind of see the seeds of eco-fascism here.
For sure. Yeah, definitely reminded me of that. And my first thought was, well, if you have it twice a year, if you had it once a year, then everyone could have some.
Yeah. Yep. And not only that, and you're doing this instead of just freezing the number of fish that you don't need, you could make great, like, just fish sticks is a marked improvement over the little protein blocks. You could vary it up so much.
For sure.
Everybody could have a continuous source of food, right? Instead of just giving some people protein blocks every day and everyone else gets to eat fancy sushi twice a year, you know?
That's the thing is, yeah, this is when the Vanguard Party sees that there was resources all along. Like, there was not scarcity. They've been lied to or ignored.
Yeah, and the people who are saying, you've got to stay in your place, you know, order must be maintained, our hierarchy, you know, they're not doing that just because of the need to survive. They're doing that because of the need to survive with their added privileges included. Then that's when they make Mason eat a protein block. They go on to the meat freezer section.
Oh my God, they have so much meat.
Which, incidentally, you have to walk through the meat. That knitting lady has to walk through the meat freezer every day to get to her knitting spot.
Exactly. I love thinking of the paths these people take. It's very funny.
They have so much meat. I don't know if it's lab grown or not because we never see any live chickens running around. But they have eggs.
I have that. They have eggs, which makes me think they have at least chickens. Chickens you could fit on a train. I mean, the other stuff you could fit, but like you'd have to walk through a whole stable car too.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep them in cages, I guess.
Knitting lady has to step in shit every day.
Yeah. Oh, that's so stupid. All right.
I love it.
But
I want to watch this whole movie, but from the perspective of knitting
no,
lady.
this movie is about revolution. It's not about logistics. All right. So they go on. Eventually, they end up at the classroom.
Oh, the classroom is so scary.
It is a terror. They search for Andy and Timmy. One kid has the gall to stand up and say, I heard old tail sectioners were lazy dogs who slept all day in their own shit.
Yes, that little shithead blonde girl.
Yeah. I was just like, damn, she knows her propaganda, dude.
Right? Ugh.
Because she didn't come up with that on her own, man. That's her society telling her that.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's probably what her parents told her.
Or maybe she watched it in one of these lovely videos.
Oh, God, the propaganda videos.
Or she learned it in the creepy hymn afterward.
Oh, yeah. There's just so much chanting.
It was scary. But it's honestly, it's just a souped up version. It's just a souped up version of what we do every day. It's our school. We have them say the pledge, not only to the American flag, but to the Texas flag, too.
Oh, yeah, the Texas one. Do they still do the moment of silence?
They do a moment of silence afterward, too, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And, I mean, if you're going to any sporting events or anything like that, you got to do the little American military minute at the beginning, you know, with all the anthem and the everything else.
It's ridiculous.
This is done, too. It's just not maybe as... This is done over the top in the film to show you, but that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I know even like early education, there is a lot of emphasis on like repetition and like I don't know if you remember that far back, but like there is a lot of like singing and chanting and that kind of shit, but it's obviously being used to teach them instead of like wash your hands and stuff. It's like all hail Wilford.
Wilford forever. And then the engine,
So gross.
rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle.
Yeah,
it
they
will
have like
never
these
die.
crazy hand motions.
Yes.
It's so creepy.
Their whole body devoted to the nation. Fascism.
Ugh.
Perfect fascism. What happens if the engine stops? We all freeze and die.
We all freeze and die. Oh, God. This is when we learn about the Revolt of the Seven, right?
Yes. Yeah. They are about to pass like the Frozen Seven is what they call them. You'll see, they look out the window and they see these 7 figures frozen in the ice. Mm-hmm. They call it was the Revolt of the Seven. They ended up jumping out of the moving train to try to make a new life in the outside. And then this is where Nam reveals that he knows, or he knew, the woman in the lead.
Mm-hmm. So she was like some sort of Inuit person?
Yeah, that knew a lot about different types of snow, worked in cleaning, I think.
Yeah.
And when they're pointing this out to the kids say, or the teacher asks, what happens if we ever leave the train? And they do like the hand symbol. They're like, we'd all die.
So creepy. Oh, they did great casting too on this teacher. Mm-hmm. Like perfect, creepy blonde, just like vaguely Aryan.
That was Allison Pill.
Yeah.
I know her from the Newsroom. She was in the Newsroom.
Oh, that's who she is. Yeah. She is very pregnant in this too, which is interesting.
Well, yeah, that makes her even a better symbol of the society and everything, of the kind of fascistic thing they've got going. Is she's a mother to the children, right? She's a mother to the children of the nation, but she's also literally a mother to the next generation. She's totally serving basically the Reich as it needs to be served. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So here's where we see a character we've seen before. Gerald shows up with a 1-stringed violin.
Oh yeah.
to play, and then they bring in some New Year's eggs and everything.
Oh gosh. I was very excited. I was like, eggs, they have eggs, cool. And then I was very upset.
Yeah. Curtis, his egg has a red letter in it.
Oh, it says blood.
And he's like, what the fuck? And then boom. Gerald's 1 string breaks. His first blood is
Poor guy.
On his face there.
Oh, God. And then they show us the tail end. They brought eggs to them. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I thought chickens were extinct. And they're like, oh, no, we still have them. Lots of things we have that you think are extinct. Like this. And he pulls out a gun with bullets.
That was such a dick line. But it was hilarious.
It was really bad. Also, that guy looks like extraordinarily creepy. Like he just, I don't know. They did a good job with him.
Yeah, he did look very creepy. The teacher also goes full-on action movie here, pulls out a gun and starts shooting people. She kills Andrew.
It's insane.
Gray runs up there and kills her with a knife. Mason tries to, she's ever trying to escape.
Tries to get a gun.
Tries to get a gun. She fails. Then the TV cuts on. It's security camera footage from further back in the train.
Oh.
The remaining suited goon drags Gilliam out there. And they shoot him. They kill him.
Why didn't they kill their prisoners, man? I'm sorry.
Well, at this point, Curtis does. He guns down Mason.
Oh, he does.
And he's just like, fuck that.
But they shouldn't have they should have taken here's my critique of this revolution. Free prisoners, kill your prisoners, and then keep your mob with you. Because if they didn't, that's the reason they left them behind, was to watch those guys. If they had kept those guys, I'm just
killed the dudes, kept their people with them. Mm-hmm. And when they show up with this egg bullshit, they have to try to shoot the room down with a bunch of children in it and everything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bad strategy, guys. So, they go onward. Mason's dead now.
Oh.
They go on through the fancy cars.
These people have the best expressions. I love these details. It's just these super dressed up people, and they're all just like, what are you doing here? And someone pulls their child away from them. It's really
and Yona goes up and hugs her or something. Yona's just like, hey, what's up,
she wants to look at her dress.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there's a car with a full on dentistry setup.
Yeah.
There's a tailor. There's that fancy bar / cafe or something. There's a hair salon.
Mm-hmm. This is the petite bourgeois right here.
And none of it looks like shitty or cramped or bad because it's on a train or anything. It's luxurious.
Yeah. Again, they have the fucking resources.
They're lying when they tell you it couldn't be otherwise.
And then they get to the sauna, right?
Yeah, they are about to get to the sauna when the suited goons start shooting at them. The suited goons.
Yeah.
This to me seemed really stupid, and it seemed like it was stupid from the perspective of some of his own like fellow guards. They were like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, don't shoot out the window. We need the windows to be closed." You know?
Oh yeah, that was. Oh yeah, when the train like curves around
and he starts shooting,
and he tries to shoot through it.
Yeah,
that was really dumb.
Hey, you are probably going to miss, dude.
Yeah, I was like, there's no fucking way. And like they end up wasting so many bullets. I'm like, clearly bullets are a finite resource right now. So like maybe don't waste all your bullets.
Yeah, I thought Curtis firing back was even stupider than the goon shooting.
I thought it was so stupid.
Just, like, what
just
are you
lay
doing?
down and crawl to the next section. Like fuck that.
Yeah. They could have gotten so much, so far ahead of him, and like closed doors and barred them and shit. Like there was so much they could do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I thought that was super stupid.
But anyway, they have that little tense shootout.
I think it was just like action movie. It looked cool.
It did look cool, yeah. But I mean, I think it's crazy that both of them were so good at that problem of like train A leaves the station at whatever, and like because they had to calculate the motion of like, okay, I'm moving this way, but the train's moving that way, and I've got to. And then there's
they
this
all
huge
had
distance.
physics degrees.
Yeah, for real. They move on to the sauna, and this is where the goon I think is caught up by this point. There's like jacuzzis in one of the cars. There's like a full on sauna in another one. It's crazy.
It's insane. Like the rest of it, you're like, okay, that was very fancy. It's like this is just frivolous. Like, what are you doing here?
You also have to go through the sauna to go to the cafe to go to your hairdresser.
Again, that knitting lady. I hate going through the sauna. It always messes up my hair. I just want to get some knitting done.
Hopefully, well, I guess the club is in the other direction of the residential blocks, probably.
Dude, anyone that has to go through the club, I'm sorry.
Well, that's why it's right next to the engine, because Wilford doesn't leave the engine, so
yeah, they're at the front.
The sauna, the goon in one of these things ends up shooting a front section passenger, and then the soldier's you shot a front section and he just gets killed.
He just shoots the soldier. And then the other guy's like, oh, it's fine with me.
I didn't see anything. Yeah, cops will always cover for their own.
Ugh, yeah. This is where we lose most of the party, I think, right? Octavia Spencer gets killed.
Yep. And Gray.
Gray, too, yeah.
There's a big fight, basically. The suited goon ends up downing Gray and Tanya and Curtis. Gray takes the knife for Curtis at the last minute, like dramatically, like puts a hand out there.
Yeah.
Curtis is about to get stabbed in the face, and he's saves him. True comrade there,
Oh, yeah.
But then dies. I mean, the suited goon killed Tanya and Gray in this fight, but they think that they've killed the suited goon.
They really should check on killing people. Christine's rules of revolution. We've already been over the first 3. Number 4 is make sure when you kill someone, you actually kill someone.
Throat, dude. You don't even have to waste a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Anyway, they go on to the club.
The party and drug cars that I call them.
It's honestly, at first, the first time I watched this, I was like, this is just a horrible decadent culture or something. But when I watched this one, I was actually more like, you know what? These are comparably kind of normal people on this train compared to.
I thought so too. I thought they would be before the fancy people.
Well,
it was a weird section, I guess.
Yeah, I think because it was mainly kind of isolated from the respectable parts of the train. This was. I don't know why they let this place occur in their, fascist society. But to me, these guys seemed way more normal in the sense that they were, just drowning themselves in distractions from the hellish circumstances that their lifestyle inflicts on the rest of the train.
Yeah, I thought this was a weird one symbolically. Like, it felt a little anti-queer to me just because, like, everyone in this room read is pretty queer.
And you thought that maybe they were like, this
is decadent.
This is the ultimate depravity behind the rest of it.
Yeah, I think it's just, I wasn't bothered by the car's existence. I think it was the sequence, like, why is that the next to last one? Is it just the inconvenience of walking through the party car, which would suck, by the way. But yeah, I think it was just the symbolic nature of it. And the fact that they end up coming to fight them later, I'm like, okay, I don't know.
I don't think that this director would be going in that direction.
Maybe not.
I just don't think it's a good choice. I agree, because remember we were talking about there is that angle with how the Soviet Union looked at the queer community and said, this is kind of like indications of maybe fascist tendencies.
Mm-hmm. Or it's bourgeoisie because you're like intellectual or whatever.
Yeah, bourgeois
like,
decadence or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a good choice, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of strange.
You're right. They do come in and like defend. They're like the last bastion of, which is weird. It doesn't make sense for them to be. But.
Yeah. It was interesting. And maybe they weren't supposed to be coded as queer, but like that's how it came across. I don't know. They're probably just supposed to be like rich kids in general.
They are that. I think that's probably their main class, like coding or whatever. That's what they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's also weird because like at some point this society's got to transform those people into the people we already saw.
Yeah.
And it'll probably happen, you know?
Yeah.
They're just getting out that youthful energy right then, and then they'll get that subsumed into a sterile, gross life in the service of the train, of the engine.
Yeah. They steal all their drugs.
Yeah, as they go through there, Nam and Yona are just stealing everything that isn't nailed down, but they're actually focusing on stealing all the chronol and some jackets.
I thought that, I didn't catch that first. I was like, I thought they just wanted drugs and cool fur coats, but there's a reason for it.
They get to the gate, and Yona passes out kind of off to the side. Curtis is like, open the fucking gate, and he kind of gets pissed at Nam for not opening it fast enough, basically, and for asking for chronol. And then they have a bro fight sort of thing.
Yeah, they fight and they're like, no, we're good, let's talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how men work?
I've never done that with anybody.
You've never gotten in a physical fight and be like, no, what's really bothering you, man?
Yeah, no, I've never done that. But I assume that it can happen. It's shown often enough in movies and stuff that maybe it does.
It must be real.
Yeah.
No.
That's something I assume is real. I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
Listeners, if you've ever been in the situation, let us know.
If you've been in a bro fight,
learn
to talk about your feelings. Yeah, this is some heavy shit. Mm-hmm. So this is where we reveal that Curtis, he talks about like the very beginning of being on the train, and that it was super chaotic and people started eating people, and they figured out that babies taste the best. They got those juicy little arms.
I imagine it's kind of like, you know, you can have like full on like chicken or whatever, but the wing, it's like a small little, you know?
I was thinking of it more like veal, how like that's supposed to be very good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense too.
And we find out that Curtis almost ate Edgar as a baby.
Yeah. He killed Edgar's mom.
Yeah. Which is weird because at the very beginning, he like asked Edgar if he can remember his mom.
That's a cold move, dude. Why would he do that?
Right. Oh, I was like, what is wrong with you?
He just follows up with it. Oh, I remember her. I killed her.
I remember. She was a screamer.
And then he was interrupted. He was going to kill and eat Edgar, but he was interrupted by Gilliam.
And Gilliam cuts off his own, is it arm or leg?
His own arm, which
his own.
This, we've had problems with the train's logistics. I don't think logistically you're going to cut off your own arm with a knife either. Mm-mm. But the swing of that just doesn't work out.
No, I think he fucking sawed it.
But then you got to saw through the bone, and you've got to break that off at some point.
He probably passed out, and someone had to finish it. I don't know.
Offered the arm and said, eat this if you're so hungry.
And then people started offering up limbs for food. Oh, everyone stood up and started donating limbs, And then he tried to do it too, but he couldn't bring himself to.
He sucked. Too weak.
Too weak.
They reference his scarred arm. This is where Gilliam is telling him to cut out Wilfred's tongue when he meets him. And he points out his fucked up arm, and he's like, oh, it's healing. It's good. It's getting better. Yeah,
and he's like, oh, and this is when he says, like, it's much better to have two arms so you can hold a woman. And,
that's
that
right.
Comes up later.
Yeah. So after people had started donating their arms, a month later, they end up with the protein blocks. Mm-hmm. That's the story that Curtis tells as he's smoking the last cigarette in the world.
It's probably pretty good.
Yeah. He then asks Nam to open the gate, at which point Nam reveals that that's not his goal.
Nope. He has been collecting chronol to explode it. He wants to bust open the train and get the fuck out of here because according to his Inuit friend that died, like he knows the different kinds of snow.
Yeah.
And he thinks that the snow outside looks like it's melting.
Mm-hmm. He thinks it may be survivable out there and he can break free from this whole train. So this set up something for me that I thought, okay, here's some ideology, here's some like class, here's some distinctions things here. Okay. So like this may be kind of a distinction between either kind of a Marxist-Leninist or a Maoist sort of revolutionary approach, right? Mm-hmm. Versus kind of an anarcho-communist sort of approach.
I was thinking the same thing because what's his name? Chris Evans' goal is to get to the front and run it fairly. So that's like socialism kind of, or even social democratic, probably socialism though. He wants everyone to be equal and be worker run.
Yeah. He's seizing the means of production, right?
Yeah, but it's still like a central force, it's still centralized on a train. And Nam is like, fuck the train. Let's just go out there and do our own thing, which is very Anne.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's that socialist first stage where you've got to get the engine, get the means of production, get the government, use the state as your weapon, right? Until you get to the point where it can wither away. He doesn't really ever talk about that. He just wants the state now, and we'll deal with that problem maybe later.
Yeah, I'm super curious what Curtis's original plan for like governing would be. It doesn't sound like he has one because he's like, I'm not a leader, and I don't know. I feel like it's really simplified of just like it'll be more fair, and I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that?
Yeah,
but that's fine. It doesn't end up coming up.
Yeah, he probably ultimately didn't really have too much of a plan there. I don't think.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That kind of like. Yeah, and you're right that Nam kind of is like, fuck it, let's do our own thing. Let's, this whole state is terrible. We're getting out of it. We're going to do something else. Start our own island. So the door opens. The yellow lady comes out.
You can say bitch. I'll give you permission.
I had on my notes psycho. She opens the door and just shoots Nam. Just, there you go.
Ugh. It's horrible.
And doesn't kill him, takes his gun away and everything. Another foolish move here.
Yeah, again, guys, make sure you kill. I mean, this one I'm glad she didn't, but in general, if you're going to kill someone, do it right.
She invites Curtis in for dinner on Wilford's behalf. He goes in to find the dreaded Wilford.
Ed Harris, classic villain.
I love Ed Harris, dude. He's got such a gravitas toward him, He's got this like...
He does.
Like, he's scary. Anyway, he's just cooking.
He's just cooking a steak.
Yeah. So they start having a discussion. I like this where he says, I've never been to the tail section. And Curtis is like, what? Is that because it's too dirty for you? And Wilford does this bullshit thing where he's like, oh, you don't think that my life has its own drawbacks?
Oh, yeah.
It's noisy. It's lonely.
Oh, I hated that. Oh, when rich people complain.
Yes. And I love that Curtis just says, that's bullshit, dude. Fuck you. Because, what is the rich person's burden,
I have to set up my foundation so people can decide what to do with all my money so I can avoid paying taxes on it, and that's really hard.
And plus, I get demonized in political discourse.
What is it? People of wealth?
Yeah. We're only 1% of the population. We're the real minority here.
Oh, disgusting.
Curtis is just like, not having it.
Yeah, does not fucking buy that for a second.
And Wilford says basically, come on, everyone's got their preordained station in life.
Mm-hmm. He does the same bullshit.
Same ridiculous, everyone's got the great chain of being. Everyone's in their place except you. And I love Curtis's reply, because I had put this in my notes earlier. It's like, that's what the people in the best place say to the people in the worst place.
Absolutely it is.
It's easy for him to say that when he's sitting here in his slippers and is making a steak and everything.
Yeah.
They have dinner over a literal steak dinner. Wilford lectures Curtis and says, overpopulation, man. We got to curtail the masses. We don't want everyone to starve. This dude is eating steak.
It's so bad. This is where we get the reveal, right?
Yes.
So he says, isn't it weird how far you got? And basically reveals that the front and the tail work together.
Mm-hmm.
And he allows revolutions to happen because it helps cull the population. And he knows Gilliam, and he quotes Gilliam's weird, wanting to hold a lady thing, word for word. And then that's when fucking Curtis realized, he actually does know him.
Yeah. And with the claim on Gilliam, okay, basically, do you believe it?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that Gilliam at a couple of points was like, are you sure you want to do this? And he's being kind of a little bitch sometimes. Maybe the water train's enough. just like he was kind of too cautious and too, I don't know, like you could tell he would have been okay if Curtis had given up sooner.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because, I don't know, the favorite theory of mine, because I don't think Gilliam's like completely out of the loop, that he didn't know anything about it, and that I don't think Wilford was just straight up lying.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that Wilford has to like completely control Gilliam at all points, though. So like what I'm picturing is Gilliam has like in the past worked with Wilford, right?
Mm-hmm.
And either at some point along the way in those failed revolutions, or perhaps just in this one, decides that it's not, that he doesn't want to do that anymore.
Oh, because that's why he tells him to don't let him talk.
Yeah. And I think it happens in this revolution. I think when he comes into the Ekaterina Bridge car, where they've just had the big battle, and he hobbles in, he looks at all the damage and everything.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think he thinks at that point, no, either or both, they've killed too many of ours. Mm-hmm. And this is no longer going according to plan. And so I'm out. Or we killed too many of theirs. The numbers are off. Wilford's not going to follow the plan anymore. We have to make this revolution really happen.
Interesting. I kind of like that. Because, yeah, at first I totally believed, Wilford. At first I was like, yeah, okay, so Gilliam's a traitor, fuck that guy. And then I kept going back to the cut out his tongue line. I'm like, he had to have said that because he really wanted this to happen. One, he thought he could get all the way to the front of the train. And two, he thinks that if he gets there, he should kill Wilford like 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been cover. It could have been, no, I'm a real revolutionary. I want you to kill him, knowing that Curtis probably wouldn't. And then it's a more complete lie. You know, it's a more like, he gets there, he's convincing. Like, no, I believed Wilford, but he was wrong. And so his whole revolutionary thing is crushed. And then he indeed is like, okay, I've got to uphold the system. This is what I'm made to do.
Yeah, because, what's his name? Wilford tries to get Curtis to take over as engineer eventually.
Yeah, that's basically what he sits him down to tell him, is that this is what we're going to do.
Which is kind of crazy. Like, why would you want... I mean, it's just because he's a good leader, but like, also, he's revolutionary as fuck. Like, that seems like
it's
a bad
stupid.
idea.
It's a stupid plan because he could just pull like a normal front sectioner to do it and train them from day one and like... get the best leader you could possibly have.
You can get one of those kids back there.
Yeah. This is why, I don't know, it's a long shot because at some point, I guess they were planning at Ekaterina Bridge. That was supposed to be the agreed upon, like, this is where we turn you back. I guess they were going to take him from that and go negotiate and then... And then, like, make him the leader then. Because he pretends like part of the plan was, cull your population, also, I want you to succeed me. Like,
yeah, I thought that was really out of left field.
I don't know. It could just be that this is, maybe there wasn't too much of this plan going on. There was the planned revolution, but once it got passed, Wilford said, okay.
Now what?
I'm going to try to convince this guy to be like my heir or something because he's clearly got potential and all that. Or it could have been a standing thing. Like, if anybody ever does succeed in a revolution past what I think they should succeed, I'm going to try to make that guy my heir.
Because that person is smart or whatever.
Yeah. Like, they've proven themselves.
That's weird.
I don't know. I'm a fan of the betrayed Gilliam theory.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I have no real proof of it besides just some evidence.
Yeah.
They get on the phone. Wilford gets on the phone and orders some executions. He calls Gilliam's place and has the creepy guy execute people.
Yeah, and he lets Curtis hear the noises.
Curtis gets pissed. Claude, we found out her name is Claude.
Claude.
Shoots, and then Wilford's like, what? Mind the engine.
Which, like, at that point, wouldn't you just beat her up and take her gun?
And then, as if there aren't enough crazies on this train, and right on cue, the suited goon rises.
Gosh, guys.
And this is where things start kind of tumbling into the end here. Yona wakes up. She finds Nam wounded. A club goer comes in, like, looking to fight, I guess about the chrono he stole.
That's what I assumed, yeah.
Yeah, and Nam knocks him into the engine machinery.
Oh, yeah.
This dude with, like, angel wings on his back. And then you have, like, a crazy mob of club goers, all with weapons now, because why? I guess
they just have those, or, like, I was not clear on that.
They show up, they end up having to fight off the mob long enough to get the fuse set on the door. Meanwhile, there's the dramatic conversation in the engine room. Mm-hmm. And then Wilfred like has Curtis go stand in the engine.
Oh yeah, he's like, you're never alone here because there's just so many people. Like, take some time to be alone. And then he goes in there and cries, basically. And then he writes him one last note because he's been sending the little red letters, apparently.
Yeah, he reveals that he's the red letter writer.
Oh.
He just wrote one. Its message is train. This is where he offers Curtis the train.
Yep.
Gives him the sacred responsibility to lead all of humanity. Without you, humanity will cease to exist. What's he driving home? He's driving home. There is no other alternative, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, could he say, I mean, this is a bad plan for sure. He could have said yes. And then when he was in charge, just like made it better. But he wouldn't have.
My first order is killing you.
Yeah, exactly. But that wouldn't work, you know? I just don't think it would.
I don't know if it could have. It may could have.
If anything, it would take too long.
All right. The suited goon shows up. Claude sticks her head out and Yona knocks her out. She starts shooting at the goon, but missing and hitting a bunch of other people. She keeps doing that even though Nam orders her to stop. I thought this was kind of cool because she's like, no, fuck it. I'm not listening. I'm doing my thing, you know?
Yeah, he keeps trying to keep her from killing, I guess, because like she's his daughter, but it's like, nah, dude, I need to right now.
Yeah, she's making her own choices there. Back in the engine room, Wilfred, now the door is open because Claude opened the door, and now he's like using this situation, whispering right into Curtis's ear, trying to persuade him of the need for order, you know? He's like a devil on his shoulder.
Definitely. He's like, look at all that chaos. We got to control it.
Yeah. People are naturally bad. This is what people are, and you've got to save them from themselves.
Oh, gross, gross, gross. Just put your name at the top of the Republican ticket, why don't you?
Yeah, this is just more, we need a strong leader. We need a head to our body to control things. More fascism, man.
I mean, I think the naturally bad thing really stuck out to me because I think that is so much of the difference between conservatives and leftists. Like, I get very frustrated because it makes people paint leftists as like naive or something. And I'm just like, man, maybe, but like, I think that's a better goal than just assuming the worst.
Well, I think that if you're really looking at it from a historical materialist point of view, you're not being naive about it at all. The key understanding there is that people are going to be influenced by their environment, right? The whole project was to turn idealism on its head and be materialist instead and say the environment affects people, you know, and people in capitalism are going to behave in selfish and those sorts of ways. But we can use that to set up a new system that's not governed by that selfish nature, that doesn't exploit that. You know, a new system wherein people are free to be what we think that they actually would be, which would be, you know, good.
Yeah. Like there's this tweet that's been going around this week that someone says like, oh, I'm a therapist and I can tell you that like therapy's great, but money's better. Like people are just happier with money.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true. And like, I think back to the times in my life where I had less money and like, yeah, that fucking sucked. And like, I think the reason I'm doing so well right now is because I'm financially secure. Like that is a huge like mental burden and it just makes your life so much fucking easier.
Yeah. And so leftists aren't saying, let's all be good people and that'll fix things, because we understand that it's harder to feel positive, to feel good about things, like you were saying, without those material resources. Back to the plot here. Yona comes running in to try to get the match from Curtis.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a great scene because like Curtis is standing up in the engine compartment and she comes up to him and he just puts like an arm out. Like, no. Like, stay there. This is, you know, the crown prince here on high. He, you know, just stops her and he's interrupted and you're just like, what are you doing? And I don't know, at that point you're kind of suspecting like, whoa, what if...
Yeah, is he going to turn?
Yeah, is he accepting his mantle? Like, right? Like maybe he's decided to, you know, to become like the right hand of God and eventually the head of the great chain of being again, you know? But Yona, she's way more persuasive than Wilfred is. She knows this isn't really how Curtis is. And so she uses her sensory stuff to figure out, oh, hey, under the floor here, and opens up the tile.
Oh my God, this is nuts. Timmy's in the floor.
Beneath the floor, there are all these turning gears and everything. And yeah, there's Timmy.
What's crazy about this, so you see him like moving, I guess, some sort of gunk out of the gears.
Yeah.
And like, that's his job. Like, that's all he fucking does all day. And then they do they flash back to this, or is it just like you just remember this motion?
Well, they don't flash back to it, but they show Wilfred doing it.
Yes. So they show Wilfred making that same like grabbing and turning motion. And then you remember earlier in the movie, Mason does that motion whenever she's giving her little order speech or whatever. She's like, everyone has a part to play, and does this little hand motion. So like she fucking knows that these kids are being used like industrial age child labor style.
Yes.
As living machinery.
Replacement parts, right? Wilfred just casually just like, oh yeah, the parts for that went extinct, and so only kids can replace them because they got small hands and fit into the spots, and
That's what you gotta do.
It takes that for the train to survive, and we prey upon the tail section to do that.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of explains why they keep the tail section alive at all.
Yeah. And so this, I thought, set up kind of a dilemma for Curtis because he's got a few choices now.
For me, it was like the opposite. For me, at least, that made it like a much clearer choice. Because before, I was still like, man, you can still take over the train and like maybe do some good shit. Like now that you have, another person here and Claude's dead, take Claude's gun, shoot the guy, take over the train. Like that was the original plan, right?
Yeah.
But now that you know that you literally can't run this train without child labor, like, I think you got to leave the train.
So you say, okay, because that is one of the options that doesn't end up happening, right? Is his original plan, taking the train, taking power, has this wrinkle now where for a time, the train can't stop. So for a time, even if you're immediately like, let's figure out replacement parts, then let's make some replacement parts and stop using child labor. Even if you do that immediately, for a time, you're going to be governing a train that runs on child labor. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, I thought that there is a big school of, a lot of people who would say,
sacrifice.
That sucks, but that's better than blowing up the train. That's better than just going with Wilfred.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I admit I was disappointed in the blowing up the train because like they lost a lot of people there. Like that was pretty extreme, but I don't know.
But do you think that is a better choice than doing something to where you try to fix child labor very fast, but you still have to rely on some child labor for a while?
That's the thing, is like, how the fuck would they even fix it? Like,
you have to figure out parts, and then you have to make
it seems
parts.
like they don't have foundries because they're not making more bullets, and they're not making more parts. So they don't have like stuff to make stuff, if that makes sense. They don't have like metal working.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Could just be a matter of foundry. I thought it was just like, well, maybe they're like making replacement parts machine broke down,
Yeah, exactly. Because that I think was confusing because it's like, what do you mean the part went extinct? Like, can't you make more of the part? What was it made out of that you don't have here? Like, True. It's metal, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe there isn't a way out. Maybe you can never replace the child labor even if you tried. And so then your only other option is bye-bye train.
Yeah. Which is the option they end up taking.
Yeah. So Curtis, he decides on that option. He knocks out Wilfred. He goes to liberate Timmy by sticking his arm into the hole to stop the machinery and the engine. Yona comes up and he gives the match to Yona. So the gears stop because they're caught on his arm, right?
Yeah.
And then the engine compartment comes out and we see Andy come out of a hatch in the wall.
Yeah, and he tries to talk to him and he just doesn't hear him or doesn't.
Yeah, he's in a daze. He's like,
yeah,
well, that was weird. But he offers himself. I mean, he goes in there and sits down like he's going to fix stuff. But I mean, he's just like a human sacrifice to the eternal engine, pretty much, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Wilfred wakes up and he's just like, preordained. It's all you have your place. Something along those lines.
He says some more bullshit.
Yeah. So doing that till the end, man. Dedicated. Nam ends up killing the suited goon. Yona lights the fuse to the chrono bomb. Curtis hauls Timmy out of the hole as his arm is severed by the machinery.
Ugh, he finally lost that arm. Good job.
Yeah, man. He made that sacrifice. He's become, one of the people that he's been fighting for outwardly now. Mm-hmm. Yona goes to grab Timmy to help him get out of there. Nam is trying to close the gate to protect them all from the blast, but he's unable to do so. So he just runs in to protect Yona, and Curtis kind of joins them in that hug.
Yeah, group hug.
Meanwhile, Wilford over there.
He says nice. He just like smiles. He's like, nice. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I was just like, dude, you're going to die.
Yeah, I was very confused by this.
So my interpretation of this is probably wrong. I don't know if it can be wrong, but still.
It's wrong.
And in the end, when it's on its knees and on its way out, capitalism will probably just resort to sarcastic retorts to cope with its defeat.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just like, okay, at least I'll be dead.
They're just going to be making memes about the revolutionaries that are like right then burning down their houses and dragging them out in the streets.
Cool fire.
Yeah. They'll be like, bit much or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very weird.
The gate blows up and this gets destructive. It starts an avalanche.
Yeah, they lose like I feel like they lose most of their cars.
I feel like most of the cars, almost everybody like dies in this, I think.
I mean, it had to just be like 2 people that survived. I mean, maybe there's some more, but I don't know.
I'm sure there are. Just most people probably died in it. It's a complete cataclysm, man.
That kind of sucked.
Well, I was thinking about this. I was trying to decide what even, Mm-hmm. And from one angle, okay, maybe it was necessary.
Yeah.
Maybe it had to happen, as in the words of an American prophet before the Civil War who just before his execution wrote, I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe it had to happen. The train had to atone.
I mean, I think so. And like, people aren't meant to just live on trains, guys. I think there was kind of an interesting environmental note at the end, like returning to the land kind of shit. Mm-hmm. So,
well, also, could we not just stop the train and get out?
Yeah, that too.
If we wanted to leave the train, I mean, if we do something like that or because I don't know, I'm still wondering like, okay, maybe it did need to happen, but maybe there is a better road to choose. Could like we have stopped the train and then come out and had revolutionary tribunals and fucking execute the people who were guilty?
I mean, that'd be cool.
And spare the innocents in the tail section, right?
Yeah, I think that's what bothered me is that a lot of people that died, like the tail section all fucking died from that probably. And like, because we saw some cars like fall into
the ravines
and shit. Yeah, like they probably didn't live. And like that was who the revolution was supposed to be for.
Yeah, exactly. And they got wiped away.
Yeah, I thought that was shitty.
So that's what I was wondering is like, perhaps it's just, the justice of what the sins of the train had wrought. But it seems like it was imperfectly applied. Like it was everybody got the axe instead of just the people who needed it. Yeah.
Like they could have just stopped the train. Like you already had Claude dead. All you had to do was stab.
Kill Wilford.
Yeah, kill Wilford and stop the train. Get all the child slaves out and stick something bad in the engine. Just stop. And you don't even have to blow it up. Surely there's a stop lever or button. I don't know, maybe not, but if there's a way to just stop it without blowing up, I think that's okay too. And then that way you can still have train power and you can still like be relatively comfortable.
Yeah.
While you figure out how to survive outside.
You don't really want to ruin the engine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And plus, if you had followed the strategy of bringing your people with you, you would have a mob of your own to defeat the partygoer mob, who are all high on chrono anyway. Like, easy.
Exactly. That would have been a very easy fight.
But no.
Come on, guys.
Lots of tactical mistakes here. Lessons for future revolutions.
Come on. Always bring your mob.
So they blow up the train, or the door, and it causes this avalanche, and the train gets fucked up, and just most people die. Mm-hmm. And then we have the emergence.
So it looks like only Yona and Timmy survive.
Yeah.
At least from what we see.
Yeah, that's all we're shown, yeah. Yona checks on Curtis and on Nam, and they're both dead, or at least unconscious and unstirring.
Yeah.
Yona and Timmy, in their parkas, they come out into the wilderness, tribunes of the most lethal species on the planet. Because they're not the ones personally, but humans were the ones who made everything like this.
Yeah, right? And then they see a fucking polar bear who's like, new meat to eat, probably.
Baby stays
Who's
best.
also like, thanks for making the whole world mine. It's been a pretty cool time for me.
It's actually an intelligent polar bear because they've made that leap now.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a slim chance for Timmy and Yona And I was wondering, like, maybe our path forward after a successful revolution might not be that bad, but
I hope it's not that bad.
It may be, also tenuous and looks scary and like, what are we going to do,
Yeah. Yeah. I ended it pretty worried about them.
Yeah. I mean, there may be other survivors there. I don't know if they're going to survive. Hopefully there are more, people for them to meet up with or something. Because otherwise, I mean, they'll survive, I guess, maybe.
Otherwise, the next movie's about polar bears.
Yeah. So, and that's where they ended.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Almost everyone died.
Almost everyone died. The end.
All right. So what are your thoughts overall on this?
I really liked it. If you recall, last week I immediately texted you when I was through in all caps, like, holy shit, that was good.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good. I really liked the class arguments behind it. I think we've brought up the times where those don't quite sit right, like some of the discrepancies in there, like, the prisoners and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just like, hey, that maybe you could have done differently. Yeah. But like, I think overall, though, it is a really good microcosm of capitalism.
Yeah, for real. I think it's a really good critique, of capitalism and its relationship with, or kind of like being mingled up with, fascism. And how fascism is just a defense of capitalism. It's just capitalism, but brought into a world where you have this scary outside force that you've got to constantly be on guard against.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it does good there. I think it does have some good class points to make, but I agree with you that, like, I don't know, Bong Joon-Ho is not like a revolutionary strategist or anything, so he's not expected to make every clear, good tactical decision. And honestly, to tell the story, it may have been better for them to make those mistakes to kind of tragically fall short or have to make this radical departure from what they were trying to do,
Yeah, and like, obviously not every revolution is perfect. Like, that's pretty true. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, again, I keep coming back to the labor question just because it's like, I understand that they keep those people. I mean, apparently now it's just for child labor, but I'm still kind of confused as to why they bother with the tail section at all.
I would wonder why they would keep old people there. I mean, they should just kill them.
Right?
You would think.
Like, these people, they're fucking depraved AF. So, like, you'd think they would just slaughter people that aren't useful to them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe just to keep the peace, to keep it all working.
I don't know.
To have violinists, everyone, you do. It's not just reproduction, but also any little niche you need filled.
That's true.
And they honestly, they probably will start as they raise generations in the tail section that are not skilled, that are not taught in any way. They would probably have started to just kill people off because those people aren't really useful. Like, right now, they're still working with people who played in the Boston Symphony, who had all these skills. They're only 17 years in, or 18 years by that point. But
if Edgar had stuck around, it's like, what is Edgar going to do?
Yeah, what the hell is Edgar good at,
A train baby.
Yeah, they don't have any real skills or uses for the ruling class, and so then they would truly be expendable. Unless some of your more Claude-leaning psychos in the front want, get into like cage fights with people or something. I don't know. You could use them for entertainment, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think it does a good job of like kind of painting a picture of eco-fascism too. Like the way they talk about culling the population and the fish and stuff like that. And then I think that also kind of goes hand in hand with fascism and its relationship to like eugenics. Like, that's the thing people jump onto real quick,
Yeah.
So I could easily see them, and especially when they say things like everyone has their place and like everyone, like it's the innate culture kind of thing, like the innate chaos or something, like when he's saying like, look at these people, they're inherently bad,
Yeah. And honestly, in their system, you wonder another reason why they may keep the tail section around. The tail section plays its role too as the other, as the enemy that has mobilized the rest of the train to agree to work in its stations in life.
That's true, because I do have all those people in the middle, like the tech nerds, the dentists, the tailors, whatever. They know that, one, if they fuck up and do something wrong, they're going to head to the tail section. And two, they need the tail section because otherwise then what are they? Then they're the bottom of the train.
Yeah, and the whole thing is built to keep that chaos of the tail section at bay, right? And keep them from fucking everything up, from messing up the engine, and then we all die, like
Yeah.
they serve a purpose, I guess, being the enemy.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
But yeah, man, I love this film too. It's great.
Yeah, it was very
Check
good.
it out. It's on Netflix.
Now that you've heard the whole plot.
Yeah. Watch it again, but now from a class perspective. Be like, oh yeah,
Fuck
I
yeah.
never saw that before.
What do you want to do next time?
Next time I want to do a reading.
From 1 Corinthians?
A reading from 1 Corinthians in, what is it? Paul's first letter to the Corinthians.
Yeah, one of those.
No, I want to do a reading from our man Engels.
Oh, okay.
Friedrich Engels.
Marx's bestie.
Yeah. So we're going to read a short, it's sometimes called a short book or a pamphlet by Friedrich Engels called Socialism, Utopian and Scientific.
Okay. You can find this on Marxists.org
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah. So do that. That's the best way to get things as a socialist or a communist is free. It's meant to be kind of a distillation or a shortened summary of Capital, basically.
Mm-hmm. Like the book?
Yeah, so Karl Marx's huge work called Capital is multi-volumes and everything. And Engels kind of talked to him, was like, dude, nobody's going to read that in the working class. So it's going to, he said, it'd be a very good thing if you yourself wrote a small, popular, explanatory pamphlet. Basically saying, if you don't, someone else will, and it'll be shit.
Okay, so he wrote this big nerd book, and his friend was like, "And nobody gonna read that."
Yeah. And Marx is like, I don't want to. You do it. But anyway, if you want to do the reading ahead of time, like we said, check it out on Marxist.org. And we'll be, posting our notes and everything, so you can follow along with those if you're on the Patreon.
Spoiler, my notes is mostly just writing question marks in the margins. It's been slow going.
Yeah, my notes will be exhaustive, I'm sure.
Okay, good. All right, cool. Well, that'll be a fun Christmas reading.
Yeah, we'll sit by the fireplace, get the Yuletide logs going.
Hell yeah, the logs of limbs of the capitalists we slain.
Hell yeah. Parody redacted.
Parody. All right, on that note, thanks for talking about this movie with me.
Hell yeah, this was fun. You're welcome for the recommendation.
Dude, yeah. I'm going to probably tell everyone I know to watch this movie now. Be really annoying about it.
They're going to be like, is this new? No, it's from 2015, but it's great.
Yeah, for real. You can find us on Twitter at teachcommunism, Instagram at teachmecommunism. You can send us an email, teachmecommunism@gmail.com, if you want to send us another movie suggestion that you're into that has good leftist themes. Don't just send us Aladdin, even though I love Aladdin. I guess he's poor.
You were born a street rat, you will die a street rat, and only your fleas will mourn you. Everyone's got a preordained position.
Some class. Yeah, some class arguments there. But yeah, if you want to send us a suggestion for an episode topic or question, we could probably do another mailbag in a couple weeks. I don't know. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That is a really helpful way to make sure people find the show.
Yeah.
So rate and review on there. We are also on YouTube. If that's your preferred listening method, just give us a search there. And finally, we are on Patreon. Patreon.com/teachmecommunism. For $5 a month, you will get access to our cool notes about each episode.
They're very cool.
You can see how many times I wrote OMG for this episode. It was a lot. I'll just go ahead and tell you. Half of my notes start with OMG.
All right. Thanks again to all you lovely listeners out there for joining us.
Yeah. You guys are cool.
You guys are great. And you can join us next week on another episode of Teach Me Communism, where the class struggle is always in session. Bye.
Bye.